Welcome to Exploring Judaism's podcast, Holiday Bites. We are talking about Hanukkah. I'm grateful to be talking to my friend and my colleague, Rabbi Mitch Berkowitz. Welcome to the show. Why don't we start and you can introduce yourself.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Jeremy. It's great to be here. My name is Mitch Berkowitz. I'm the Associate Rabbi at B'nai Israel in Rockville, Maryland. And I live right here across the street from B'nai Israel in Rockville. I've been here for I'm in my seventh year right now. And I spend a lot of time organizing programming for various segments of the congregation, as well as, of course, catering to pastoral needs for all of our members.
Wonderful. What is a piece of Torah about Hanukkah that inspires you?
One of the pieces of Torah that I've been thinking about a lot, especially given what's been going on in the world today and looking for some glimmer of hope and some light, is the teaching about the sort of the reformulated version of the second blessing. When typically we say Sha'as Anisim Lavotenu Bayamim Hahem Bazman Hazeh. Everybody knows sort of the melody and the tune. We always finish Bazman Hazeh, which of course translates to we praising God for being the one who brought miracles to us in those days, Bayamim Hahim, Bazman Hazeh, at this season. So it seems to suggest in the original formulation of the bracha that these are things that God did generations and generations ago, and now we're somewhat removed from this idea of miracles taking place in our world. But if you actually look in all of the newer conservative Sidurim, and a few other places as well, you'll see the bracha is reformulated a little bit by just adding one letter. So instead of saying Bayamim Hahem Bazman Hazeh, it says Bayamim Hahem in those days Uvazman Hazeh, just adding one vav at the end to say in those days and at this time, to suggest that yes, God is the one who brought miracles to our ancestors hundreds and thousands of years ago, but that didn't just end hundreds and thousands of years ago. Those miracles have continued to take place over the course of history and through time, even up into our day today.
What is one of the core lessons that you're taking from Hanukkah or into Hanukkah this year?
I guess thinking about that same idea of miracles happening even for us today, just a couple of weeks ago, I was fortunate to be able to join the rally and the march in Washington on the National Mall. Convenient because I live close, but for so many other people, it was not so convenient. And yet we shattered every record and made it such that nearly 300,000 Jews and allies of the Jewish community were able to stand there on the mall on that day and demonstrate the unity of the Jewish people, demonstrate that we can all stand with Israel at this very trying time, fight against antisemitism. In a certain sense, that's a miracle. Of course, there were significant logistics to plan, and everybody had to do actual work to get there. But the enthusiasm of people to show up, that drive and that desire to really be there for one another, that I think really is a miracle in our day and not something to be taken lightly. It made a huge impact, I think, on not just on the world, but on what it meant to be a Jewish person who either stood there on that day or who was able to relate and desire to be there with everybody else. That notion of being surrounded by people who believe in the same things that you believe in, who trust you, who understand, who get you. You can't get that somewhere else. You can't get that outside of that kind of an incredible experience. And it was an unfortunate thing, obviously, that we had to do it. But the idea that we were able to do it and pull that off, that I think was nothing short of a miracle.
With that in mind, how can someone make Hanukkah meaningful this year in a moment of rising anti-Semitism around the world?
One of the core concepts of celebrating Hanukkah is Persume Nisa, this idea that you should publicize the miracle. That you shouldn't, it's not something that should be hidden away and just celebrated within your house and nobody knows about it. The custom really is to place your Chanukiah in a place that's visible to those who walk by your home. Nowadays, of course, many people do light them maybe on their dining room table or somewhere in their kitchen. But if you can, and if you feel safe doing so, and you live in an area where this makes sense for you, you should try to put it in your window. You should try to put it in a more visible place so that your neighbors do see what you're celebrating, so that you can demonstrate how proud you are to be a Jewish person, to demonstrate that there really is something very powerful in our tradition that doesn't just make us better Jews when we follow our tradition, but that really does make us better people and helps us to bring light into the world. And so I encourage everybody that sort of despite the rise in anti-Semitism, people should feel even more emboldened to go out and demonstrate their Jewishness, to demonstrate their pride in being a Jewish person. And this is the holiday to do it, because this is the holiday where you're supposed to go out and put things in your windows, where you are supposed to demonstrate to everybody that you're actually lighting the Chanukiah and remembering the miracle of thousands of years ago, and also praying that miracles happen for us even today.
If someone wanted to set an intention for a particular night of Hanukkah, what intention would you encourage them to give?
I would want people to to spend a little bit of time actually thinking about a miracle that's happened for you in your life. Think about the ways in which you have been impacted by the world around you in positive ways. Try to attune yourself to thinking about what are the ways in which things have happened in your life that were inexplicable, but in the positive sense, things that were so wonderful, things that are so incredibly impactful on the person who you've become, on the person who you are, whether it's what you do in your professional life, what you do for your family, what you do for others. Try to share that miracle with other people. It's wonderful when we notice that things happen to us that are so great, but it takes some effort, and I think it makes a big impact when we go out and share that miracle with everybody else. That's the story of Hanukkah. That's great that we had this wonderful miracle happen to us, but it wouldn't mean as much if we didn't actually retell the story every year, if we didn't get out there and share that miracle with everybody else. So as individuals, we should do the same. We should take some time to actually consider what are the miracles that we've experienced in our lives, and give thanks to those miracles, thanks to God, thanks to our family and friends, thanks to the people around us. And don't be shy about sharing those miracles with other people.
It's powerful. What is something about Hanukkah that you wish people would know?
Sometimes when we celebrate Hanukkah, we often are drawn to the sort of the version of the story that we tell our children, our youngest children, which is, of course, the miracle of the oil. But if you look carefully at our texts and our tradition, there really are two miracles for Hanukkah. Yes, of course, the miracle of the oil is significant, but it wasn't just that. It's also the miracle of the victory of the Maccabees over those who would try to suppress their practice of Judaism. I think in a world that we're living in today, that's a relevant lesson for all of us, that we shouldn't cower when anybody tries to come after us for who we are and what we believe in, for following our tradition. I think it's important for us to remember that sometimes we do really need to stand up for ourselves, that we need to get out there, that we need to demonstrate the power of not just our prayers, but of our actions, and demonstrate to the community that we're here. No one's going to make us hide away just because they may not like us for any particular reason. And so I think on this Hanukkah especially, we should remember both miracles. The miracle of the victory of the Maccabees in demonstrating the power of their Jewishness and that they won't allow others to suppress it. And of course, maintain the story of the oil, because that's the one we want to share with our children anyway.
Thank you so much for being here and talking with us, and happy Hanukkah.
Thank you. Happy Hanukkah.